Hello everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video. This one is a double-sided art journal page in a small 6-inch square watercolour journal. And I'm using collage papers from Natalie May Scrapbooking, and I have got some of these ones available on my website. So I'm starting off a little bit different in that I'm going to use matte medium to stick these images to a larger piece of collage tissue paper. I kind of had this idea of creating like a window effect, but needed my images to be a little bit bigger. So by sticking them onto more collage tissue paper, not only does it make them stronger, but also gives me that bit more space to play with. So once they're nice and dry, and then I am cutting to start off with, just because I don't want it to rip in a way that isn't going to be helpful. I'm cutting these out so that they are a little bit bigger, and then I am going to cut out, I'm pretty sure I end up using 2 pages for this, so 2 windows, just kind of marking roughly a little bit smaller than the size of the collage tissue paper square that I've got. And yes, I'm using a ruler, but I'm not measuring. I'm just using it to help me and kind of draw some rough lines as a guide. You'll very rarely see me measure anything. I just kind of eyeball things, really. Sorry about the camera wobble. Since I filmed this, I have altered my camera setup, so yeah. There might be the odd wobble now and again. So then just going straight in and cutting that window out. And I've done it down in the corner so that I have got some space around on the rest of the page where I can still create some journaling. So just rubbing out those pencil marks, and I can see, you can kind of almost hear me thinking as I'm going along here, like, okay, that's going to stick in there. And then, yeah, that's going to work over the top. You can't see it through the other side. These are all those kind of little things that as you're playing with ideas like this, you just got to kind of work through. And if you can, then I suppose if I could have seen the image through the other side, I could easily have popped a piece of paper between the faces, or even just added a bit of white gesso on the back of the image. That would have helped as well. So I've drawn through the window on the first page to cut it out on the next page. Obviously, as you can imagine, these are going to end up being stuck together. Here I am going in with double-sided tape, just because this is going to give me that kind of much quicker adhesive. I don't have to wait for it to dry. It's in. Job done. I like that. And then I'm going to do the same on the second page here. So making sure that I stick the image in so it's not facing me. And then these 2 pages are going to be stuck together. It's lots of fun to create little pages like this in your art journal. And I think, you know, kind of thinking outside the box and thinking, okay, what could I do? It's great to just have a play and experiment. And sometimes these things work and sometimes they don't work so well, but that doesn't matter. It's all about having that play. I think I decided I was changing the image there. And one thing that I've discovered with this double-sided tape is that if you're really careful, sometimes you can lift things off that you've stuck in place. So I was quite lucky there that that came off without damaging the image. I can still use the one that I discarded, yeah, or the page. So this tape gun is from Scrapbook Adhesives, and it's okay. I don't think it's the best that's out there. You have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes I have bought the odd refill that hasn't behaved, but it does make life a bit easier when you're creating like this. So I've used that to stick the 2 pages together, and now I'm going to start going in with some colour. So here you can see I'm bringing the colour across onto the image, and checking to make sure whether that can be visible, whether it is visible on the other side, and it's not. So that's okay. That means these 2 pages, yes, they're going to work as a kind of cohesive page together, but I can also treat them as individual pages if I want to. So I haven't gessoed this paper. I really like the way that the paint absorbs into the paper, and it kind of gives that serendipitous effect where you've got like darker bits, lighter bits, just depending on how you apply the paint, really. And I do like that. Sometimes it's what you're after. So I am watering down my paint just to help it move around. But you can see where I put that initial paint stroke of blue, it's absorbed in much darker, but I'm okay with that, that's fine, because I am going to go in and add more layers over the top, so that isn't really going to matter, it's just going to add to the interest and depth of the page. I think, given that the Art by Marlene paints on my desk, I'm guessing that's what I'm using here, but I honestly can't remember. This is a stencil from Natalie May Scrapbooking. Yes, I am using Marlene's paints. They are really lovely. The colours are bold and vibrant, as you would expect for Marlene's paints. Not as heavy body as Dina's, but you know, it all has its place, doesn't it? So this is a stencil that I designed for Natalie. You can get hold of all of the stencils that I designed for her. They're on my website, and there is an offer on at the minute where if you buy, I think it's 4 or 5, you get a free stencil thrown in. So I'm adding some leaves and using black. The reason for the black is it's a lovely contrast with all those other things that are going on. And I'm not just popping the stencil down and using it all, I'm selecting little bits that I want. So I'm being quite considered with where I'm putting the marks now. And also overlapping some of them onto the image as well, because then that helps it feel like I don't know, it just helps it flow. So I'm also thinking, as I'm watching this, there will be some of you watching thinking, well, why bother cutting it out? Why not just stick the image on? Well, yeah, you could, but I love playing with cutting out elements in my pages, and I just think sometimes it's fun to try different things, and doing a double-sided cutout page was lots of fun to experiment with, you know, how is this going to work, and if I do this, what will happen? And it's playing with those what ifs that is often fun to do. So you may watch a video and think, I don't understand why you bother doing that, why not just stick it on? Oftentimes it is just the playful side of trying an idea out and seeing how it goes. So I added some dots using some paint pens. I think they were Sharpie paint pens. And then some words around the image, and of course some dots. Got to have the dots on there. And then I'm going to work on the other side. Oh, adding some white. Yes, I generally do use black and white on my pages as well as on my colour. I think for me it's that just adding that extra pop of contrast. And I wanted to push that writing away a little bit, so a quick way to do that is just to go inside the letters using a white pen, and that way you can just push those letters into the background a little bit more. Okay, so now on to the other side. And now I'm going to go in with some more colours and pretty much repeat the process that I did on the first side. I take my cue from the image as to what colours I use. I'm checking that the colours aren't popping through, because, okay, so if that yellow, I think it might be like a mustardy tone, if that popped through onto the side, that would mean that because of the way my brain works, I'd then have to add a little bit of that colour on the other side as well in a deliberate way so that it flowed. So popping the paint onto my page. That's an Art by Marlene brush as well. These brushes are really lovely because they've got that nice acrylic handle, and the bristles are just so lovely to work with as well. Yeah, so continuing to water the paint down, letting them mix a little bit, going for quite painterly strokes. I'm not worrying about keeping neat and tidy, just letting the brush do the work. So this is another of Natalie's stencils. It's like a layered leaf stencil, so it's got two elements to it. You've got this top part, and then you've got the the little bit with the smaller elements that you can add over the top, like the veins on the leaves. I'm going in with two different greens, a light one and a darker one. That's going to create a little bit of depth as well on those stenciled images. I mean, it does help if you can remember which way up you've used the stencil when you're popping it back on. So yeah, here you can see I'm just trying to help myself out by lining up the other one, because quite often I will twist stencils around and use them in a different way, in a different direction. It doesn't help when you've got layered stencils like this, but you know, it's worked out, it's okay. So now to make sense of that stenciling, I am going in with a pen and just drawing around the outline of the first leaf shape that I put on the page. And that just kind of helps those come together. So one thing that I have done quite a bit in this on this art journal page is used selective parts of stencils, and an easy way that you can do that is to just mask off an area that you want to use, so you're only getting that part of the image. I just wanted some flowers to pop onto here, and I knew that I'd got one of Nat's stencils that had some flowers on. It's just a nice quick way. Obviously you could paint the flowers on yourself if you wanted, super easy. But why, when you've got a stencil with a flower on it, why not just use that? So using masking tape just to mask off those areas I don't want means that I can get those nice crisp images onto my journal page. And I feel that adding those flowers kind of brought that page together. And then I was checking and got an odd number, because that's one of my things. I feel, even though there's a lot of flowers, I don't know why I check, but I just like to have odd numbers of things. I'm going in with some white dots. I've added in a colour in the centre of the flowers as well. And some pink. So these are the Sharpie paint pens, and they are quite nice. I think for me the best quality paint pens are still the Posca pens and the Life of Colour, but the Sharpie ones are not overly expensive and they are quite nice. Oh, and of course Marlene's paint pens, they're lovely as well. I like the fact that Marlene's double tipped, so you've got two colours on one pen. And then I'm adding a quote. That is a quote from Marlene's sticky quote book. So there we go, 2 pages for one, I suppose. A double-sided art journal page using lots of goodies from Natalie May Scrapbooking, paints from Art by Marlene. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.